Yo guys, it's your boy Bojack, back with another YouTube video. It's been a minute, I know, call it an extended Christmas break I suppose. From now on I plan to get back to regular schedule, which is at least one video on YouTube a week alongside the streams I do, etc. But enough of that. Today's video, as you'll be able to tell from the title, is hidden or lesser known things in eFootball that can really help you excel, improve, and become a better player at eFootball. I'm making this video because even for a player like me, there's a lot of things I've learned recently about the game I just wasn't aware of, and it makes the game almost different in certain situations it can open up. So with that in mind, I hope you enjoy the video. So in game settings, you can access your controller settings. All of mine are on configuration 1, and press triangle for your detailed settings. There is actually quite a lot to this. For example, a semi-assist in attack, it changes the cursor on its own, which to be honest, it does whatever setting you have it on, unless it's on assisted. But for semi-auto, it says it's manual in attack. It isn't. I would have it on semi-assist. But that's a tangent. What we're really here to talk about is feint command type. Now, you get a choice between easy and manual. And what it does really is, on manual feints, it reads your actual input closer than easy, and it seems to fool the AI more. Your super cancels become quicker and more responsive, and I'll show you in game. So let's start off with easy. Right, I've pulled up the scissors command purposefully, and you'll see why pretty soon. So on easy, it's slick enough. Okay, watch the cutting behind. Watch the super cancel also. It is quite responsive, but it's nowhere near as responsive as it is on manual feint. So as you can see, it slightly adjusts the inputs for scissors feint and the Marseille turn. However, every other skill is exactly the same input. Scissors is easy enough. Marseille, it actually makes considerably harder to pull off. And to that extent, the only drawback of manual feints is that extra complication to the Marseille turn. A lot quicker, it's a lot smoother. It also fools the AI a lot more often than having it on easy. You can see the difference in the cutting behind too. But for Ibrahimovic, this will be its own hint in itself, so I'll do it with Hullet. It's a lot snappier, it's a lot smoother. Watch this super cancel. It just activates that much faster. And I personally believe a lot of pros are using manual feints in the way they move, etc. It also helps to combine skills also on manual. For example, scissors feint into double touch. You can't really pull it off on easy. I mean, you can, but it is infinitely harder, and it's rarer because of that. That is hint one. A lot of people don't use skills in eFootball, which, to be honest, I think more people should learn. But if you are a dribbler, I've spoke about it on stream, but I do implore you to try out manual feints. Manual feints also make it easier for a player to pull off skill moves in which they don't actually have. Scotch move on Hullet, for example, I don't have it on Hullet. See how smooth it is? That wouldn't happen on easy feints. No input headers. Now, even I'm hesitant to give this hint out. Why? Because a lot of people abuse headers. But for the sake of the video, I will show you a kind of crazy hint about heading. You see the arrow below my player. This is to indicate the direction I'm aiming for a pass, for moving, etc. With headers, you don't have to aim. It can help to aim, but headers are off and on at the best of times. So watch what happens when I put no input into a header. That wasn't a header. You can also do it straight from across onto a volley, however. This also works. And there it is. You see how that header went straight on based on George Best's body position in relation to the goal. That's what happens when you don't input your headers or your shots from your body. Now, this next one has already been exposed, but it still works. Personally, I think these past two hints should not be in eFootball, but since they are, I'm going to show you. And this next hint is no input 1-2. To do a no touch input, it's R1X or it's L1X based on your commands. You can access your own commands in the game settings, etc. Mine may be a bit different to yours because I adapt my settings for my arm. But the concept of it is exactly the same. So, no input 1-2. You don't have to aim the pass at all, and it will deliver a stupidly accurate 1-2 to your 1-2 receiver, because you've already told the game you want a 1-2 pass, which is ridiculous, but it works. It's the most accurate way to thread through a 1-2, and it should be patched out of eFootball, but it still works for no reason. I don't abuse this personally. Same with the no input headers, for example, but it's quite obvious some players are abusing this. In behind 10 and heel trick, these two things combine in order to create a better, more accurate cutting behind 10. For example, Hullet has cutting behind 10, but it doesn't have heel trick. Ibra has cutting behind and heel trick. You can see the extra snappiness from his leg as he pulls it forward and he pulls it back. Next up, I'm going to talk about how certain players' ID within eFootball can allow them to do special things depending on who the player is and depending on what they can do. For example, I don't have flip-flap on Neymar, and because of that you would assume Neymar can't do flip-flap. Wrong. Neymar can do flip-flap without flip-flap, and it's unique to him. I'll show you on the training pitch. Whether putting flip-flap on Neymar improves his flip-flap, that's another question. But the point is, certain players can do certain skills without actually having those skills. Romario is another example. Romario can do a weirdly good cutting behind turn without having cutting behind turn. Ronaldinho can take a weird chest touch, some Cabrero, and hold it in his chest for a second or two. Also, the combination of some skills unlock new skills. For example, Neymar with double touch and Ribone. But with Ribone, personally, I'm not a fan because Ribona is a randomly activated skill which is incorporated into other things. However, there are skilled players who do like having Ribona because it can unlock weird skill moves. My next hint is based on pass assist, and I'm going to use this in relation to countering smart assist. I usually do pass assist too, and that's because I like having control over my pass power, because on pass assist 1 it goes on your direction. You're aiming a pass, your power becomes irrelevant, really. Smart assist is basically pass assist 1 on steroids. So if you don't play smart assist and you come up against players who are using smart assist, I would highly recommend switching to pass assist 1, because you get this sort of quicker rate of passes, which is higher speed passes, unfortunately miles more accurate passes, which encourages you to rely on the AI more. Watch how quick I can pass on PA1. It almost looks like smart assist, but obviously it isn't smart assist, and using PA1 is nowhere near using smart assist, because smart assist affects every input. It makes skill moves randomized based on flicking the right analog. I'm solely talking about PA1 in relation to countering some weirdly accurate passes from smart assist, which give smart assist players, quite frankly, an unfair advantage. Bang, 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 bang. PA1 is very snappy, and while I don't use pass assist 1, mostly I will switch into PA1 when Efootball feels strange and tight and it's hard to pass out, because AI interceptions are way too strong, for example, and you just can't move the ball around how you'd like. There are a lot of ways to use PA1 where you don't have to play, for lack of a better word, erratic. PA1 also helps the receiving player also, because it's AI based, right? It's going to place where you've aimed the pass in the best possible position for your receiving player to control it, which is a shame because it discourages using PA3 and PA4 where you can't play your passes as quick or as sharp because you're constantly having to think about the body positioning, the power bar, for example. In my opinion, manual passing should be encouraged, not discouraged, but that's the current state of play. Formations. Formations is a lot simpler, but the real hint here is going to be based upon how you set up your formation, because your formation determines how your AI attacks, how it defends, how attacking, how defensive it is. And there is a reason why most players end up in the exact same 2-3 formations. These meta formations vary from phase to phase, but the concept is the exact same. So you could go into top 100 and have a look what the current best players are using, for example, and there is a reason these players are using specific formations, and it's because at a certain point in time, 2 or 3 formations are prevailing above everything else in terms of how the AI moves and in terms of how eFootball reads these formations. I'd say formations are about 20% of setting yourself up for success in terms of play styles, in terms of tactics. I have all the videos on that where I go into more detail on stuff like this. This tip is going to be based on player positioning in relation to tight marking and man marking. Now, tight marking and man marking is a very effective way to either close up a space where, for example, you have an attacking full back. I use it a lot for Carlos. And what happens is when Carlos is up here, Maldini will cover the wide man a lot more close, and he'll make up for that space. But when you are tight, when your opponent tight marks you, obviously it's a hindrance to whoever's tight marked, etc. So how you can counter this is using your sub tactic to switch up the positions, and so it's much harder for your opponent to mark a player out of the game, and especially with man marking, it can really mess up their defence switching positions in sub tactic, for example. This is good for creative freedom. It's good for the game not feeling so tight, and a lot of players do this. For example, it's why a lot of players, or some players even, will play a blitz a Blitzkeiler Messi cam or AMF as it is on eFootball, rather than an outward SS, because it's harder to justify putting, say, your only DMF, which is Yaya Toure in my case, just and basically taking him out of the game just to mark a Blitzkeiler Messi, for example. Thank you for watching. I hope you've enjoyed. If you have, if I've helped you out in any way or you've learned something you weren't aware of, a like, a comment, a subscribe always helps me push my channel out, etc. More videos coming soon, and if there's something I've not covered in this video, feel free to put it in the comments, as I could always make a part 2, etc. Things like that. But that's all I have for today. Hopefully catch you soon. Until next time, take care. Bye for now.